Welcome back to Unfilmterd. If you're new here, my name is Emma, and I like to talk about movies. Usually, I'm like this little character thing, so you're probably wondering, like, why is she human? And fear not, she will return for the duration of this video. I just felt like doing this intro live to, add some, like, oomph to the video. You know what I mean? Sorry if I keep looking down at my computer and reading from my scripts. Anyways, you've probably already seen today's title, and today we're going to be talking about movie musicals and ranking them. But before we jump into everything, like, if you're expecting a, like, deep dive into each and every one of those movies, this is not the video for you. Yeah, I'm sorry, mama. Like, we're going to be reviewing, like, 5 different movies, and Night at the Museum was, like, 30 minutes long for one movie? 30 times 5. I'm pretty sure that's 150. If not, let me roll it. It's 150. It's 150. So, yeah, that would be a really long video, and when I'm editing, I can't listen to myself talk for that long, so we're not gonna do that. But, yeah, anyways, let me tell you what this video is, since it's not that. So we're gonna be basing our ratings off of these questions. How originally accurate is the movie to the original musical? Does it give justice to the original masterpiece? How are the songs in comparison to the original? Is it giving Broadway, or is it giving cheap studio production? We'll see. And if the movie wasn't based on the original musical, could its production make it a good standalone film? Again, we'll see. And how was the overall acting and casting decisions made in this film? We'll rate all of those aspects out of 5 and give the movie an overall grade and see where it ranks in comparison to all of the films. And, before we start, just because of how I'm rating these movies on my biased opinion, that doesn't mean that any of these movies are bad movies. That being said, Dear Evan Hansen is a terrible movie. I'm joking. But, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna have a blast. It'll be a great time. Other Emma will see you shortly. Let's get right into it. This movie, everyone knows it, mostly everyone loves it, but let's get to the nitty-gritty. Believe it or not, my first time seeing Wicked was actually for the purpose of this video, as I really had no interest in the film or original musical before this, and this is coming from a quote-unquote theater kid, so maybe I'm just boring or a hater or whatever. It didn't pique my interest at first, but watching this movie, I was hooked. I was on my edge of the seat or my bed the entire time. I'm rarely ever moved emotionally by movies, and let alone movie musicals, since some are just so unserious. But I almost shed a tear a few times watching this, because why are they so mean to baby Elphaba? Like, we write at dawn. Anywho, let's get into this rating. I'm sort of realizing I haven't really seen any of the original musicals in person to any of these that I'm watching, but thank the Lord for slime tutorials. If you know, you know. So I guess we're just gonna have to take my word for it. Upon further research, aka one Google search, the movie is pretty accurate to the original musical, with the most differences being some artistic choices. The biggest differences being the way Elphaba and Fiyero meet, Dr. Delamain being a part of a secret animal organization, and Madame Morrible having worked with the wizard from the start. Other differences didn't really add to the trajectory of the film, but were rather a little cute add-in. That being said, musical accuracy, I'd give a 7 out of 10. Now, onto the songs. Baby, we know the songs. Like, that's my brother. The most complaints I've heard about any musical components in this film is that the vocals can sound a little bit auto-tuney sometimes. And the wizard is Jeff Goldblum, who is definitely not like Grammy-worthy singer or whatever. But he acted his butt off, so I wasn't even mad. And the leads are Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. I give it a 10 out of 10 because who else do you think can do this? If this movie was a movie on its own, I still think it would be incredibly successful. Maybe not as, but it'd still do good in my opinion. The promos and excitement surrounding this film, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't really due to the glory of the original musical, which the original musical is great, but mostly in regard to this absolutely like stacked of talent cast. Like, they ate boots down. Like, the production value, incredible, not to mention the choreography. Like, it had me memorized. Like, whoa. they're really getting down. So I live, and for that I'd give an 8 out of 10. The casting for this movie was like, it was perfect. I can't imagine anyone else as Elphaba and Glinda after seeing this, especially them having incredibly large boots to fill after Christian and Indina left. Like, they just shook me. Like, incredible powerhouses. And even though I feel like Jeff Goldblum's version of the Wizard, like, if it was recasted, I wouldn't be mad, but I still liked it. And as for Madame Morrible, as much as I adore Michelle Yeoh, it felt flat and she can't sing. But it's like, apparently on the inside, they're saying that they knew that she can't really sing. And like, if we knew that and it's a musical and it's Wicked, why did we... You know what? Whatever. Anyways, with that being said, 7 out of 10 for the casting. This leaves Wicked with an overall, drum roll please, a B. Not bad for our first film. Let's move on to... Lights Up on Washington Heights Up. No? Okay, anyways. I remember first seeing In the Heights when it came out, and I absolutely fell in love. I was born in New York and my mom is Dominican, but I grew up in Maryland. And watching this film really resonated with me, like, almost like culturally. Like, I felt it in my soul, even though I never experienced what the characters were going through, like, firsthand, because, you know, during that time period where I could, like, really resonate with that, I was an infant and I was capable of just, you know, going poo-poo and pee-pee on myself. So yeah, but it was just really cool seeing my culture be expressed in such an awesome way on the big screen, as I'm sure it did with a bunch of other people. With that being said, let's get into it. There is a lot of significant differences between the movie and the musical, the most notable ones being characters' backstories, the narration by future Usnavi, Nina and Benny's relationship, and some songs being cut from the movie. I personally believe that some of the differences took in the movie added some more depth and more emotional ties to the movie, so I'm not really mad at them. For example, Usnavi's dream of reopening his dad's bar in the DR is a lot more prominent in the movie, which makes him more interesting and likable to me. And even though it's not accurate, like, it still like adds some sauce, like some flavor, but whatever, it's about accuracy, so I guess 5 out of 10 for accuracy. The songs, I mean, come on. Lin-Manuel Miranda is an incredible songwriter, and a lot of those songs had me, you know, I'd be on the verge of tears, like, you know, breathe, like, I had to breathe when listening to it. And it's just so beautiful, and everyone in this movie can sing and occasionally rap. The style of these songs in this movie felt really refreshing. The mix of Latin pop and hip hop really cooked here, and I live for some fresh uniqueness, so that's an automatic win by me. That being said, 9 out of 10 for the songs. As its ability to stand alone, I'd say it could go either way. In the Heights isn't the most well-known musical, so I don't really believe that the majority of the audience watching it were die-hard fans of the musical, and the movie didn't really shock anyone in the box offices, so yeah. I personally thought that the themes and choreography and imagery of the film was great, but it doesn't really stand out. Does that make sense? No? Okay. That being said, 4 out of 10. Now the casting. It's really hard for me to say, but even though I believe the original cast did well, if the entire movie was recasted, I probably wouldn't be mad. Nothing really stood out to me in any of the actors' performances. A lot of the scenes that were meant to be emotional kind of came across to me as little, kind of giving Tubi, a little corny. Maybe I just didn't see the vision, but anyways, 6 out of 10 for casting. That leaves In the Heights with an overall D. Hairspray was actually the first movie musical I ever watched. I remember first watching Hairspray as a kid when my mom introduced me to it, and I remember the interaction going something like, I don't know, I was like young and I was scrolling through the movies that we had available on the TV, and I was scrolling, my mom saw Hairspray, and she was probably like, ooh, Hairspray. And I was like, what's that? And she was like, you've never seen Hairspray? Even though it came out 2 years before my birth, but okay, I guess. But anyways, I turned it on and I immediately fell in love, but I recently rewatched it to get a better grip of an opinion for this video, and I still think it's peak. When it comes to the accuracy, Hairspray stays pretty true to its roots. There's not a lot of noticeable differences between the original musical and the movie. However, there are multiple in the show Hairspray Live, which was the live version of Hairspray put on after the movie musical of Hairspray was made. So the musical made a movie, and then there was a second musical showing based on the movie musical. Yeah, I didn't think it would be fair to compare those two differences because Hairspray Live came out after Hairspray, so let's just freeball here and let's give it a 10 out of 10 for accuracy, because why not? Now on to the songs. The songs in this musical are just so good. Like, there is really some heavy hitters in this musical. Like, I could be years deep into a coma, and if I hear Without Love playing, baby, I'd wake up immediately, just off the jump. It's just bop after bop after bop. And similarly to Wicked, this cast is just jam-packed with vocal talent. Like, for example, we have Zac Efron showing off he can really sing, even though someone else had to do Troy's vocals the entire first High School Musical movie. Just a little fun fact there. And of course, we have Queen Latifah and the uber-talented Elijah Kelly, as well as Nikki Blonsky. Anyway, I have no complaints at all. 10 out of 10. As for productivity, the set and costuming in this design is absolutely to die for. Like, the charm of the 60s aesthetic almost makes me forget about these movies' dark themes of racism and oppression. Joking! But no, like, literally, like, the scenes, the dance numbers could be screaming the message at me, and I was just like, wow, this movie's just so fun. They look like they're having so much fun, which I do feel like is an issue that the movie needed to dwell a little bit deeper in instead of Tracy and Link's love story, since that's supposed to be the main point, that things are bad and that we should all join together and stop tearing each other down. But win some, you lose some, I guess. And the movie was mainly targeted to kids who I doubt had seen the original musical, and I guess this was a more like jolly way of presenting these issues to young audiences. But hey, and the movie did do well upon its release, so I guess this category really speaks for itself. 9 out of 10. Now. You're probably tired of these high scores for all these categories, so let's get into the casting to give it some fair game. Now, as I said before, the cast is uber talented, so we're not gonna dwell onto that. But I had to find something to hate on because it was doing too well, and I needed to be entertained. And you guys need to be entertained. So let's get into it. If I wanted to defend this category, I would probably say something along the lines that it's best to separate the art from the artist. But you know, when you're casted as the lead in Hairspray, which tackles the issues of racism and oppression in an art form that can really touch audiences' hearts through song, and you know, having played a character who fights against those issues so strongly, you would think that you'd learn a thing or two from it. Nope, not in this case. No. So, long story short, Nikki Blonsky does not have the best track record an individual can have. Little bit of controversies, let's be honest, lot of controversies. So I'm gonna take mega points off of that just because let's make it a fair game. So hey, 2 out of 10 for casting, and this leaves Hairspray with an overall C. Last and probably least, Dear Evan Hansen. Okay, I'm gonna stop with my hatery for this movie and attempts to give it a fair opportunity, but it makes it hard. Honestly, it's probably because the original plot of Dear Evan Hansen I'm not the biggest fan of. Maybe I'm missing a point, I'm not even sure what that point could be, but Evan does not deserve a happy ending whatsoever. In today's world, I think that people using mental health as a crutch to be a not so nice person is ridiculously overplayed. I don't think we needed a whole musical about it, especially since it's not evident for me that the point of it is Evan being shamed for his actions, but rather just like, okay, you did that, you felt bad for a second, life moves on. Like, no, you lied to a grieving family. Genuinely, what is your issue? Like, okay. I even tried Googling questions like, what is the point of Dear Evan Hansen? And I couldn't really see anything besides things that alluded to us, aka the audience, to feel sorry for him. And like, no, I'm not gonna do that. But anyways, I'm gonna calm down and we're gonna get into the rating. When it comes to the accuracy to the original musical, I really only noticed two differences, which is the way Connor confesses his mistake, Evan confesses his mistake, which in my opinion didn't even really have that drastic of a change because he's just let go scot-free regardless. Basically, in the original musical, when Evan confesses to lying about being good friends with a family's now deceased son by suicide, the family doesn't tell anyone in order to protect Evan's future. In the movie, however, Evan makes the decision to announce his mistake to the world. But that didn't bother me because I felt like it made the plot ever so slightly more enjoyable because, you know, taking accountability. The second difference, however, really irked me because you know what? The movie did not just cut one of my favorite songs from the musical, but both of them. The songs in question being Anybody Have a Map and Good For You. I love Anybody Have a Map because it's just good. And Good For You really brings me the satisfaction of everyone being against Evan because boy, oh boy, I cannot stand him. Although these don't really affect the plot that much, so 7 out of 10 for accuracy. Piggybacking off the song selection, the cast can sing enough. Ben Platt is an insane vocalist. His recent rendition of Diet Pepsi by Addison Rae almost brought tears to my eyes, and I also prefer the movie version of Requiem compared to the original musical, which is rare for me. I'm usually an OG song ride or die unless it's the Glee cast version, so impressive. But I'm still mad about my 2 favorite songs being cut, so I'm taking points off. 8 out of 10 for the songs. And you know, this channel is called Unfilmterd for a reason, so I'm gonna give my true unfiltered, no resume or criteria or any basis to have this opinion, and say that this movie would flop no matter the casting, budget, or differences that this movie could make because the original musical's plot and message is just so awful to me. Now, I heavily doubt the offer of Dear Evan Hansen was thinking to themselves, like, let's make a play that demonstrates you can do terrible, awful things, but if you think that you are terrible and awful, people will feel sorry for you, and that makes it okay. But that's kind of the vibe that it gives. And it didn't even really do that well when it came out, so I guess the world somewhat agrees with my opinion. So this is an Unfilmterd 0 out of 10. Now for the casting of this movie. Again, Ben Platt, great singer, love the guy. But you cannot tell me this man looks like a teenager, which is also one of the major complaints people had about this movie. You know, if I was Connor Murphy's parents and I contact the last person that my son spoke to before his passing, and it's this grown man, I'm calling the cops to have you investigated absolutely immediately. Like, he does not look like he belongs in this classroom unless he's teaching in it. Oh my gosh. As for the rest of the cast, I can believe they're seniors maybe, and the adults casted in this film did well. It's just similar to Hairspray because it's like, you know, he's the lead, so everybody gotta take the fall. 1 out of 10. This leaves Dear Evan Hansen with an F. After watching all these movie musicals, I thought that the ratings may be a little unfair as film evolves greatly over short periods of time. Like comparing a movie that came out almost 20 years ago to a movie that came out within the past few years didn't seem that right. But Dear Evan Hansen and Wicked came out within 3 years of each other, so I feel better about myself. Now, that being said, the movie with the highest ranking is Wicked with a B. I mean, who's really surprised? The movie has multiple awards under its belt, and you know, everything seems to be of better quality in general in every category. And the movie that did the worst is You Know It. The other films I would rank in close proximity to each other because I feel like they fall short in similar ways. But I really had a good time watching all of these movies, and despite some opinions I may have, I recommend giving all of them a watch as I still found them all pretty entertaining. I want to thank you guys for tuning in on this week's episode, and hey, let me know if we want a part 2 and what movies I should do in it. But that's all that we have for today. Until next time!